I really don't want to forget to wave the flag about because this is
Right.
a place of inspiration. And as an artist and as a parent, it is also the first thing you sacrifice are those moments that feel like, oh, I just can't swing this week. I can't go to that screening. And it's taken me years to recover from that creatively, if I'm honest, because it's really isolating and it's expensive. And it's, again, speaking to all this invisible labor, to even find your babysitter is not available. And then you're calling like 6 other people and you're doing that while you're working full time and your kid has like a stuffy nose and
Right.
you just also have to make it to the dentist appointment. Like, you're not going to go to that screening. And I think that what's lost from that is enormous.
Good morning, Alexa Coblentz, Jessica Kivnik of the amazing new project Cinecamp, Cinema Meets Childcare. How are you ladies today?
Doing well and very happy to be here. Thank you so much for asking us to come for a chat today. It's really cool.
I'm so thrilled you're here. And let's level set a little bit for the people that might be clicking on this episode and think, oh, it's about childcare, kids. I'm not going to listen to that. So let's talk to them first. So as way of introduction, and starting with you, Jessica, can you introduce yourself and how you got started in filmmaking? And then for those people that may think, oh, I don't have kids. This isn't something that I need to care about. Why do you think your Cinecamp is so important to everyone in independent film rather than just people with kids?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. And I think that the answer to both questions lies in my personal story. It took me a long time as a kid to realize that I was always a filmmaker and a storyteller in my sensibility. When I look back at, for example, like photo albums, I'm old enough where you would have taken photos with a camera, printed them out and put them in an album, and it was like a big deal. When I look back at like my photo albums from my childhood, I was always writing like on scraps of paper a little story, even if that's not what happened at the event or the party or wherever the pictures were from. And I was just narrating and using words and pictures to tell a story, which is like basically filmmaking when you're a kid
Right.
and you have a camera and you're just experimenting with that form of expression. That's me as a kid. I was always interested in that, the combination of words and pictures to tell a story. And we're all exposed to that now as a parent. I know my kids are exposed to that through books and early in their life. But yeah, I'm a TV writer. I've worked for many years also as a script coordinator to pay the bills, and been fortunate to sit next to many great and talented showrunners and TV writers and watch and screenwriters and watch them in their process, and have just always been interested in the way that humans relate to each other through these kinds of stories
Ooh.
or possibilities. So I think that Cinecamp exists to provide childcare for people who want to exhibit and attend and participate in film festivals and arts and cultural events. And obviously, if you're a parent, I think that sort of sells itself. We can get into kind of the whys of that a little later. But if you're just tuning in and you don't know why this matters to you, I think that we are like existing at a point in time when stories matter even more than ever before. And as maybe traditional Hollywood structures start to shift and change a little bit beneath us, the independent film community, I believe, is the most important thing that we can be like putting our time and energy towards as storytellers and as filmmakers now. I think that if you imagine the phoenix rising from the ashes type of imagery, independent film, and in all its forms of expression, and for every age group and every gender and every race and creative human, can be so powerful in moving the needle and building a future that we can all be proud of and happy to raise our children in. So it matters. Inclusion matters. Equity matters. Choosing to be a parent in this world is political. So whether you have kids or not, I think framing what we're doing at Cinecamp in a way that, oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, my phone. My school is calling.
If
So
you need
sorry.
to take that. Yeah, no.
Oh, they'll call my husband next talking about equity. I think all our phones are ringing. Sometimes it's like a robocall. They're very
Persistent.
yeah, hold on, let me see. What was I saying? You can edit this out or maybe leave it because
Yeah.
it's very real that your children
The
need to run
school
your life.
calling. Well, I think it's so
Yeah.
important what you said because it is political, but when I was thinking about that, I thought, you know what? It should be the real answer is whether you want kids or not kids, that should be up to each individual family and not up to the industry. So, like, the industry shouldn't decide for you whether or not you should have kids or not. It should be your own family that does, and I feel like too often in this industry, because of the economics of it, like, other people are deciding for families whether they should have kids or not.
Or whether or
Yeah.
not you lose value as a filmmaker once you do have kids. And I think what Jessica is talking about is, in fact, it's quite the opposite. Like, the stories just get richer, and that if we can Cinecamp works to remove the barriers so that those people with those rich stories don't feel like they have to overcome so much to participate in these really essential spaces, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with Jess that it's all Cinecamp comes from a personal need, and my journey with filmmaking also started, like, really close to home. I started as an actor at 6 years old. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, I got my SAG card at 6. I doing
What? Wow.
commercials and stuff like that, and then also, I would say, even in those moments, my memories of being on set as a kid, there was just this, like, fascination with the magic behind the camera and all of the
Mm.
people and recognizing how everyone was working so hard. That's what I remember as a kid. And then my father is a film editor, and so he deepened that fascination for me because it was the era of pre-digital film, really, so it was like he was right on the cusp, so he was one of the first people to work in Avid and stuff, but he when I would go visit him in his editing room, there were bins of actual celluloid, like real
Oh,
film,
wow.
and he had, like, cuts from splicing on the moviola, and so it was just, like, scars from that, and it was so embodied and real to me, but it also held this magic, and I furthered my, like, performing and dancing. Jess and I share that, actually, we're both dancers, and that brought me to study at NYU, and I left school, actually, early, and I started writing plays and theater because I think I needed to get really far away from the film industry and some of that to, like, find that magic again, and so I found it in a lot of the classics, and I really loved Shakespeare and the Greeks and all of that, and so once I started writing plays, it became really obvious to a lot of the people around me that they were screenplays.
Mm.
So, I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I just started, like, being like when I heard of someone making a film, I'd be like, "Oh, can I help?" And little by little, I would get more and more responsibility on set, and again, like, going back to that child in me, like, that was originally on set, once you start to grasp, like, how essential everybody is, it's really, like, this whole world of possibility opens up in terms of what you can do and what you can, like, change the dream
Yeah.
to be. So, back to LA and made one of those plays that was obviously a screenplay
That's
into
awesome.
an unwatchably bad short film that I have great
Oh, no.
but then we made then not too long after that, I continued to, like, volunteer and to PA, and I've always loved cinema itself, so it's, like, a really deep first love of mine, and so I think I just kept returning to viewing films and helping friends, and then eventually, I made a short film that I really was proud of, and Jess was the AD on that one, so,
Oh, cool.
yeah, that was early on in our friendship.
I know, I was looking for the dates right before this so that I would sound knowledgeable because previously did
You didn't know.
that was 2012 March.
Oh, wow.
Something just fell.
And Alexa, when you were on sets early, were there a lot of kids? Has it ever been the norm where parents can bring their kids, or has the norm always been no kids on set? That's like the expectation. Directors are gonna get pissed if they see some of these kids.
No, yeah, I would say absolutely not, and in fact, I think that's
Yeah.
what's somewhat dangerous about being a child actor and working as a kid in general is that you are so singular, and
Okay.
you're put aside and the whole schedule revolves around you and the teachers and there's like you're like extra cushion around the child on some levels, but then you're also on a set and you see all this adult
Right.
stuff happening at the same time. So I would say that there's not a there's a power you have in like that everything revolves around you, but you have no agency as a child.
Okay.
And so I think it's like a very strange combination. So far, my kid is not interested, and I'm really grateful.
So this came, Alexa, from your experience seeing a film festival in Spain. From what I understand, you
Yeah.
saw something similar to Cinecamp, and you're like, "Let's bring it to the United States?"
Close, that's close.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, my husband is from northern Spain, and
Okay.
he's from San Sebastian in the Basque Country, and I had been working out of COVID, I got a job managing an LED volume at the time that
Mm,
the technology was really starting to take off as something accessible to music videos, car process, more entry level than just like Industrial Light and Magic. But it was a really exciting time and they were really busy. Again, it was like really just when we were going back to work after like the lockdown and I had a 2-year-old and
wow.
he was just starting preschool for the first time coming out of pandemic. And I was still nursing my baby. I was up at
Wow.
4:30 in the morning. I was trying to manage this growing business, which was again, like I wanted to be there. It was really exciting. But I started to push myself to the point where I was really not well. And it was just really too much to manage. And my husband works in post production sound, and he was also on a schedule of network television and doing pickup and drop off and laundry and dishes. And we just were like, barely holding it together. And so I think there was a point where it became clear to us that it was really unsustainable. And that was because I became unwell and like I started to go to the doctor and they started to test me for a bunch of mysterious symptoms. And that's when my husband suggested, okay, let's take the summer and let's go to Spain and be with family and figure out
Smart guy.
what our path is from here because we can't just keep doing this.
Right, smart.
Yeah. And while we were there, it was right before the San Sebastian Film Festival, and I saw promotion for the Red Balloon Alliance, which does this work in Europe at some of the major festivals and smaller festivals too, but at San Sebastian, at Cannes, at Berlinale, and at the Market at Cannes as well. So that's coming up for them. But yeah, they do this work and I saw that it was happening and that it existed. And I just felt like, whoa, like, I need this. I want to bring this to Los Angeles, and this should be everywhere. It was like a major light bulb. So, yeah, that's how I found out that this existed really already. There's a model of it working.
And then you explain that to Jessica, like, how did Jessica come into the mix?
I tapped her on the shoulder a couple times about it. She was busy.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Alexa and I met in LA on we didn't say this, but we met working on an independent film called Joshua Tree 1951 here in LA, and Alexa kindly let the filmmakers use her parents' home for some of the shooting locations. And Alexa and I was part of the team that was the lead man. Like, we were just boxing up and then unboxing and replacing all of the items that are normally found in her parents' home. And that's when we bonded immediately. We both had been dancers, and her sister attended the same university where I went, and so we just felt like an immediate kinship. And then, yeah, in 2012, I was the assistant director on her short film called
Cool.
Mom. And then, yeah, we've just been life friends since then. And yeah, I think when
That's
she
awesome.
came home, she tapped me on the shoulder. I was immediately like, this is incredible. And my brain started firing about all the ways that we could make this happen here and
Right.
who else we could bring in and what we could do. And then I also was like at capacity with other projects. I just we just kept it in the back of our mind until our schedules lined up and we were and that was I don't know, 5, 6 months ago, 4 months ago,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, 5 months ago, maybe.
And I should
And
add
that
too that
yeah.
I just really quickly that when I came back from that summer, I did start to look for work in the nonprofit field so that I could
Okay.
really better understand this whole arena and this way of working and funding and all of that. And I did, and for the past 2 years, I have worked as a nonprofit management consultant for clients, like in a various, like many different ways. And so I was also like busy on that stuff. And then I was like, Jess, we got to do this. But it took a little while, yeah, for things to align because, like anything, like any
Right.
sort of creative project too, it's a leap of faith, but it's also, it just feels like you can't not take that step. Like you must. And it just became so clear to us, like the more we would talk about it, how much possibility there was there. As
Yeah.
collaborators and like partners in it, we were
Right.
waiting for a chance to do that again, but also because we both really need this. So
Yeah.
it spoke to us really personally.
And that's the
Yeah.
best kind of projects, right? The ones that just are fill an actual need that you see. So it is a nonprofit, correct?
We're a fiscally sponsored project of Sima
Okay.
Studios, which is a nonprofit.
Okay.
They have many programs, and their fiscal sponsorship is one of the things that they do. But shout out to Sima; they've been really
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
wonderful.
amazing.
Basically,
And
oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say one of their films that they also fiscally sponsor called All the Empty Rooms just won an Oscar for Best Documentary Short, so
Yeah.
it's been cool to see them support a really successful project as well.
So, Jessica, walk me through you're starting at the LA Festival of Movies, providing services for kids from 4 months to 12 years, from April 10th through April 12th. There's so many smart decisions in there. So, why start there? And then why did you decide the age range? Why did you decide the dates? What was the thought process of starting
Yeah,
there?
thank you. I appreciate the smart decisions
It's
because
true.
some
It's
days, like,
starting small, like,
yeah, some days we feel like we're really making smart decisions, and some days we feel like,
what have
uh,
we done?
we're just doing yeah, then whatever, we don't know. This was all the decision to reach out to LA Festival of Movies first is actually Alexa's all on Alexa's power. I can let her explain it, but she volunteered for them last year because she
Okay.
really likes the programming and noticed that some of the founders were maybe about to have children of their own, looking visibly pregnant, or spouses of founders looking visibly pregnant, and think so that planted a seed. And then also the synergies don't stop there. The one of the advisory board members for the organization that sort of sits on top of LA Festival of Movies called Mezzanine, right? Is Michelle's one of the advisory board members is a woman called Michelle Carey, who is one of the founders of the Red Balloon Alliance in Europe. So
Ah,
all fit together, meaning the people that Sarah Winshall and Micah Gottlieb, who run the festival, are aware of the Red Balloon Alliance and the work that they do. So it was a little bit of a fertile ground for us, like an easy conversation to start with. So it seemed like a logical and natural place for us to start. And they were open to it, which yeah. Did I miss anything out? Did I do it right?
No, not at all. Yeah, but what's interesting about it too is that it was both synergy and I had been reaching out to folks at the Red Balloon Alliance very vocally, like trying to be like, hey, can we bring a chapter of this to LA? They're so needed and there's so many festivals in Southern California. Can we just call it Red Balloon LA? And
right.
eventually I did start to talk with Michelle Carey, who's based in Berlin. She about this and she was really excited and really supportive. So we've gotten their blessing. It's kids and liability and everyone's name is on it. And so she was like, you guys go start your own thing. And so that felt really right as well.
Okay.
And so the timing of volunteering at LAFM last year and just to say a little bit more about it's just a really unique festival. Their programming is really special. They show incredible restorations as well as like premieres, like West Coast premieres and there's because Mezzanine is a year-round Cinematheque and they also have incredible programming. So their work is really a continuity of that, and I think they bring together an incredible community of film lovers, and it's such a unique scene. It's not very competitive or flashy. I don't think I saw a single red carpet scenario really anywhere.
That's awesome.
Really about
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
and I think that's also why it felt so because there's a warmth in that people are really it's a festival in the true sense. It is a celebration of cinema that they've created, and so I do feel like it's a natural extension because what we're trying to do is all about, like, warmth and trustworthiness, and so it's warm there, and it feels like it makes sense, and actually, I would even just point to the response that we got from their community when we announced that this was gonna happen. We also sent a survey out to their community, and so
Awesome.
many people, like, even just on social media, were just like, "Yay, I need this. This is so great. Oh, that means I can come now." And other people who didn't have kids, like, to your very first question, were also like, "This is badass. Yes, this is
That's
right."
great.
Yeah. And so I think that just speaks to that it is a really natural fit, and they also have a personal investment in it because they
Yeah.
are new parents. But thank you so much too for pointing out I also feel like there's something right-sized about it for us because we are
Right.
starting a business and we're piloting a lot of things. So I think starting with on the 10th, we're gonna have an open house and
Okay.
open the doors to families to come in and get acquainted with the space. We are really fortunate that we've found an incredible location right next door called Regis House Community Center. So that's right next door to 2220 Arts and Archives, which is where LAFM is like their home base for the festival. They also screen at Vidiots and at Now Instant Image Hall. Their tickets are on sale and our registration is also open. So all of that.
That's
But yeah, they also have a couple of really wonderful talks planned at the Philosophical Research Society in Los Feliz too. So everything is in the neighborhood and we will be right next door.
okay.
Again, more synergy, like really incredible. Like it just a lot of stuff is making sense for this happening there. So we're gonna have our open house on the 10th from 4 to 6. Shout out Prime Pizza, who's gonna give us some
We're gonna
pizza.
have
We're gonna have pizza. No, it'll be really fun and, like, very casual, and nobody has to RSVP, they can just come, but I know for my
That's awesome.
child, like, he'll wanna see the environment, like, once and not dip his toe and then come back. So, hopefully, some other kids and other families will enjoy that, and then we'll be running full programs the 11th and 12th, and the 12th is their closing as
Okay.
so it's really over that weekend that we're
yeah.
running this pilot and yeah, we're really excited to see to get the feedback and to take all of our learnings from that smaller kind of scale of it because we have big visions for what can come next.
Absolutely. And I think the first question that anyone asks regarding anything regarding childcare is who is providing the care. It's provided by the Cradle Company. Why them, Alexa? What made you choose their particular company for this?
That one actually also came from Jessica, so she can speak more about
Perfect.
how she connected originally with Brandy Jordan. Is just a brilliant expert in the field. She is not only does she have this really esteemed agency of caregivers, but she is also a doula. She is an infant expert. She is a sleep expert. She is a podcaster. She is just like the
Wow.
she's like a beacon for moms, I think out there, and she's also a member of our advisory board. We're really fortunate to have her wisdom in that way. I'm just really excited. It really again couldn't have been a better fit because we do potentially have some babies that will be coming to Cinecamp. They will be getting the most excellent care. And so I think if I can, and then I want to kick it over to Jen.
Yeah,
He can tell you a little bit more
definitely.
about Cradle Company, but I do want to point out this is where the philanthropic piece comes in, is
Okay.
that we are not just providing accessible, low cost care. We're providing excellent care at a low rate so that it is
I love that.
accessible to everybody. And so that's where support and donorship comes in because it's really important for us that the caregivers are paid really well because they deserve that and they're experts, but also so that parents know that these are this is a safe and enriching environment. It's not just like a room. So
Right.
it's us like where someone's gonna watch. Like it's so much more than that. And we also have some really exciting programming lined up throughout the weekend too, with some arts programming and music and some proto cinema crafts and stuff as well. But yeah, that piece is really important to us. So I just wanted to mention it. Just can tell you how she met Brandy even. Like
I love that so much. Thank you for adding that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I was, like, taking little mental notes. Let's see if I can make a response that ticks all the things that I was thinking of saying while I was listening. Yeah, Brandy Jordan's incredible. She's on top of all those many hats, she's also, like, moderates an extremely large and very diverse moms parents group on Facebook called Atwater Village Moms that I've been a member of. Some days it's the only reason I open Facebook since my daughter was born in 2017. And we call each other Moogle, like Mom Google, because you can go on there anytime, day or night with a request. Help me find a pediatrician. What's this rash on my kid? All the way up to like really complex and societal and existential questions and conversations. And Brandy's right there moderating with a loving iron fist. And it's such a hard job just on its own. If that was her only job besides raising three beautiful kids, like that would be sufficient. So I think smartly we tried to find people who move through the world like they have more time in the day than we do because we have a big task in front of us. And Brandy's one of those people
Yeah.
who just gets it all done. But she also like immediately got it. The other thing was once we spoke to her, we could see immediately that she fully understood the need for this from an equity and inclusion perspective, from a mom's support and chipping away at some of that invisible labor that we hear about that we've been talking about, and when it comes to being a mom and when it comes to being a parent, she just instantly got it, which has been our experience in particular when we're speaking to moms. I don't know how much of this like invisible labor conversation reaches your corner of the world. But yeah, there's a lot of conversations in the parenting circle about how being a modern mom is like a full-time job on
Right.
top of
Everything.
everyone's work because you're not just doing the dishes, but you're remembering noticing that the dishes need to get done. And that's like taking up a chunk of your brain power, right? And you're not just doing the laundry, you're noticing that we're running low on laundry detergent. And you're not just taking your kids to the doctor's office, you're remembering that they need to have their annual exam and scheduling it and the phone numbers and all that stuff. So there's a lot of conversations like in cultural, much bigger than Cinecamp, bigger than the film community, bigger than Los
Right.
Angeles, around that type of just being aware of that and maybe starting to chip away at it and within your own household system, trying to delegate stuff a little bit better and make sure
Yeah.
everybody's helping. But Brandy got that immediately, that a big piece of Cinecamp for us is just helping take that burden of mental load away from parents. And when we say parents, we know default parent, like statistically as a mom, and making this just like turnkey. It's super easy. Bring your kid as they are. We'll feed them. Hopefully, eventually, we'll have a generous partner or sponsor that can help provide diapering and supplies like that. For now, we're going to ask parents to bring diapering for their kids. But Brandy got it immediately. And that's why we just knew instantly that she was the right partner. But I will also say that when Alexa first approached me, I also have a background in marketing and copywriting, add to my hats. And I
Makes
just I think one of the first things I said was like, we have to do everything in our power to make sure that we feel trustworthy and safe and legitimate because we know being our parents from our own experience that that's a big question mark for parents, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe that's
Exactly.
different. That's a cultural difference to a program like this in Europe that exists where there's so much more community and it's San Sebastian is built around these plazas where people hang out and everyone in every neighborhood knows each other. And we don't have that in America. Our society is built on individualism. And so I just knew from a marketing perspective that one of our like core values that we were going to have to communicate to interested parents and interested festivals was that everybody that's interacting with the kids is going to be vetted and background checked and safe. all our volunteers that are interacting with kids are gonna have live scan and fingerprint, like, it's
That's awesome.
and that it just goes through all our messaging to make sure that parents know that this is a safe place to leave their kids. And then on top of that, all these incredible things that we have planned to help them feel like they're at the festival and parents feel like they can set it and forget it, and not really,
And
you're never forgetting it, but you
But
want them to
right.
know who they are and be good. Yeah.
I think what you
That's
said, there were 2
yeah.
things that I just wanted to emphasize too. I do think that it is a bit of a paradigm shift for people, like, versus what like, whereas, like, in for the red balloon to exist in Europe, it was less of a leap for families because there are just so many more networks of care. There's just a totally different paternity leave system that's there for them.
Right.
And again, like, there is this really, like, it takes a village stuff in action happening for
Yeah.
families across Europe. That's been my experience. And I do think that here, usually cultural engagements that are family friendly are really busy because there's not that many spaces where it feels like both everyone sort of ticks all the boxes of filling the wells. And I think that when Jess also says the kids get to go to the festival too, this is such a also a really beautiful idea to bring to families because it doesn't happen a lot. Like where you get an eye onto the world of your what your parents are into and passionate about in real time. And we are going to have some programming that's inspired by the films in the festival. And we are going to have an opportunity for the kids. Like they're going to be right there. And
Oh,
they're going to the festival too. And I'm really excited for the children to learn what that is and to get a sense of it in a way that I think is really unique and innovative. And yeah, that part is really exciting for sure.
Going back to where I feel like my roots as a filmmaker and storyteller really started to show up when I look back, that I was a child and nobody around me in my immediate family was a filmmaker or my mom. Yeah, I have creative genes in my lineage, but I didn't grow up in a household with like filmmaking parents. I didn't grow up in Los Angeles. But I think it's really cool. It is. It's really cool and it's unique to Cinecamp that this opportunity exists where we can really help parents show kids what their adult life is about and give them opportunities to look at that. Yeah.
And I will just add a bit more about like why film festivals too, because and Jessica started to
that's
mention
awesome.
because of the systems of Hollywood are like crumbling around us with conglomeration everywhere and that there is like a kink in the armor, a chance for these independent cinema is like just I really do think going to have even just another real burst of thriving. I mean, there's always going to be great films being made. I'm just like 100% like that's never a question. But I do think that obviously then the film festivals become like so essential to that ecosystem because that's where not only like for people who get to screen, it can be career changing for them to show up and be there for these conversations and to go to these parties and meetings and just be in the midst of it, be at that hub. But I think also, and this is where it gets really personal for me, I've been lucky enough to screen at film festivals and I've met filmmakers all over the world that we champion each other's work. We are like always, hey, do you know a person here who does this? Like that started in these spaces, but also as attendees. And I think this is the part that I'm just like, I really don't want to forget to wave the flag about because this is
Right.
an inspiration. And as an artist and as a parent, it is also the first thing you sacrifice are those moments that feel like, oh, I just can't swing this week. I can't go to that screening. And I don't, it's taken me years to recover from that creatively, if I'm honest, because it's really isolating and it's expensive. And it's, again, speaking to all this invisible labor, to even find your babysitter is not available. And then you're calling like 6 other people and you're doing that while you're working full time and your kid has like a stuffy nose and
Right.
you just also have to make it to the dentist appointment. Like you're not going to go to that screening. And I think that what's lost from that is enormous. It's such an
Yeah.
arena where not only can you encounter like a whole line of inquiry that could open up your next project, but there is that sense of like inspiration as a duality of you feel so connected to the work that it makes you feel like you can take the next step forward and it's aspirational because you see it as something that's like a bit a reach from where you are. And I think that bridging the gap between those two places for artists is just, it's everything. So I do, like, to not be welcomed into those spaces is a missed opportunity for so many wonderful filmmakers, I think.
Completely agree. So Sylvia Ray on a previous episode talked about how she went to a film independent project involved. There were only 3 students out of or 3 fellowship participants out of 31 who had kids. They came together to make Seaweed Snacks, an amazing film. Do you think, and just thinking about this as you explained why Cinecamp, why festivals, do you think the reason for that has been just the rise of female filmmakers has made this a question? Like, not to knock my own gender, but it wasn't a thing because there weren't female filmmakers in the room. That's pretty much why we haven't had to have this conversation.
I do. I think, yeah, I mean, it ties into sort of all this systemic challenges that we've touched on so far. Like, even in a very modern,
Right.
egalitarian
Yeah. Right.
marriage,
Yeah.
contemporary marriage here. Alexa and I both, for example, operate throughout the day and go through our lives with our born surnames. For example, just to name one kind of systemic thing that we didn't participate in or tradition.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
even in an extremely balanced household, when it comes right down to it,
Comes
if
down to the
somebody
one.
has to give something up in order to have your children looked after, it's the mom. It's, of course, this is assuming a mom and a dad in a household, which we know
Of course.
is not
Yeah.
always the case,
Right.
but yeah. And the reasons for that can be, there's an endless number of reasons. Like, kids go through phases where it just has to be mom and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And you could be like, mommy's leaving and daddy's going to stay and walk out the door while they're crying and they'll be fine. Or you could choose to, okay, never mind, I'm going to stay. That they go through those phases. Sometimes it's economic, right? Like, we still live in a world where females in every industry are making less money than their male counterparts. For example, during a maternity leave or whatever, 9 times out of 10, that's a mom choosing to stay home or being left with only that choice for economic reasons. Their husband makes more money and it's a better economic value proposition for their family. Mom guilt. There's just a million and one reasons why. And of course, we know too that like a mom's body chemistry changes a little bit when they give birth. So some of that
Right.
stuff hardwired and you can't fight against it. But you have to almost, like, you have to almost, as a parent, like, as a mom, you have to almost, like, actively choose to turn that part of your brain off for a minute so that you can go do something that fulfills you so that when you come back to the household, you're a
Present.
balanced parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think none of those things were really on anyone's radar until there became more women in filmmaking, more women in independent filmmaking, more women at the top in studio and network TV and film. And the other thing that's happening at the same time is like the women working their way up the ladder and the men and women working their way up the ladder are aging. The ladder is not as like consistent and direct as maybe it was. Happening is you have men and women, filmmakers and creatives all across the entertainment industry who are at mid-level or what some would consider even almost entry-level positions or stations in their careers, and they are at the age where they are ready to have children as well. Yes, there are film festivals and cultural events and arts events that are really just aimed at sort of 20-somethings, and it would be very unusual for them to be a good target for Cinecamp and have a lot of parent attendees and involvement in their community, but the number, I think, of people of the number of those types of spaces where people are parents and new parents and navigating how that feels and trying to come back into a space where they previously felt like it was totally fine and now somehow everything feels really different and maybe they have a baby on their chest or at home with a sitter. It's just growing. That population is growing as
Yeah.
this upward mobility of the entertainment industry stagnates. So
I would
it's like it
also
was a
just
yeah.
I would just add a little bit about the systematic piece. I know, like, I shared with Jessica yesterday, I was, like, reading a bit of the recent UCLA published diversity report for
Right.
2026, and I think it just in the conclusion, they really do sum it up as 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes 3 steps back kind of scenario, because across the board, women have lost ground in the past year in terms of equity, and this is the theatrical report, so there will be more that comes, but I do think, and I hope I'm not misspeaking about if it's already been published in the other areas that aren't theatrical, but I'm just
Right.
using the theatrical. I do think that that's important to remember. There's not a straight line here of systematic change. And that's why networks of care are so essential, because it's really, if we can make this the norm, and there are people who have been talking about it and who are working on it and have been for
Yeah.
years. I will mention another advisor of ours is Akima Brown, who is the founder of Real Families for Change and based out of Atlanta. She is really looking for data-driven solutions to make this happen in the production space, and really talking about what we mean when we say care, and recognizing the film industry workforce as an actual workforce and not just like creatives who can like
Right.
movies. That organization has existed for 5 years. And so they've been doing this hard work for a long time. And I do think it's important to recognize that while brilliant visionary people are working on this, the advancement is not necessarily correlating. And to your point, like back to the speaking about it and like the kind of taboo nature of just
Right.
saying, this is something I need.
Right.
There is somewhere to connect the dots here with some things that we can make the norm,
Yeah.
right? Because they're doable. And I think when I saw that this was doable because the Red Balloon existed, the Red Balloon Alliance existed, when someone else might see that Cinecamp exists and has an idea about how to budget this on their next independent film, like, I think that when we see it in action, it really will support some of the hard work that people have been doing, researching and
Mhm.
like raising their hand to make it not a taboo thing to talk about. Because the conversations are happening. There were panels at Sundance about it, about the need for
Yeah.
care and accessibility. And we can look to our differently abled filmmaking partners and colleagues who have really blazed the trail for accessibility on sets too. So I do think that there is like a lot of hard work that has been done in this arena. But yes, to your first question of like why it wasn't something that we were talking about sooner,
Yeah.
obviously the more people, that's why inclusion matters.
Right.
It's fundamentally like why inclusion matters, because it's only if you're there and you have a seat at the table, not only can you say, I think it should be different, but if you don't have to, you can change the room too, not just the table. Like you can be like,
Right.
I'm not just happy to be here. Let's change how we're doing this and then open the door for everybody else. I really, not to get too esoteric, but I really, that's what we mean when we say inclusion. It's not an avatar, it's real.
I love that so much. So let's assume this is successful in April. What are your next steps? Are you, because I can think of a million different ways you can go. You mentioned film sets. This would be perfect if there's a longer movie offering this. Film festivals. Would you be accepting pitches if somebody's listening to this from a film festival? Would you want them to reach out if they want to have Cinecamp at their festival? What are your next steps after?
Yes, I'll let Jess go 'cause I think she's
Yeah.
bursting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm assuming you'll I know Alexa's the, like, nonprofit and fundraising expert here, and I'm taking the marketing side of things. Definitely again, we're gonna be at LA Festival of Movies. It's April. The main days for care are 11th and 12th. And then after that, I might take a nap for a day immediately following that. I have some rewrites on a feature that are waiting patiently for me as well. But yeah, we really wanna get as much data as we can about what worked and what didn't work. This is a big undertaking with a lot of moving pieces. It's not a
Oh, yeah.
simple it's basically building like a pop-up daycare center. for children of all different ages. There's a lot of moving parts, and
That's
so
insane when you say it that way.
it really is.
A pop-up daycare. Could you imagine telling yourself that 10 years ago? You're gonna be running a pop-up
No,
daycare.
and it even my own mother was like,
What are you doing?
she was, "So I've been a creative filmmaker, writer my whole career." Now you're taking care of kids? You're running a daycare?" I was like, "Mom, no, we're like the event producers. We're building an organization that can rinse and repeat this, that we can do it again, and we have licensed professionals who are gonna watch the children. I'm definitely looking forward to holding a baby if the baby's into it, but no, even my own mom was like, "How it's just you and Lex watching kids?" I was like, "Oh, we gotta explain this a little better." But, yeah, we'd love to maybe be able to tackle 2 to 3 more festivals this year. We have a short list in mind, but hopefully, eventually, we are covering the big festivals or the festivals that
Yeah,
are a fit for us across Southern California. We've absolutely had thoughts and conversations around expansion outside of just the film industry into potentially, like, comedy and
right.
music festivals,
All sorts of different things.
conferences, film markets. Not a greater than not an insignificant number of people that we've spoken to have suggested sports events, like, they said, you gotta contact the Olympics." I'm a tennis player, tennis fan, so I went to the Indian Wells tennis tournament a couple weeks ago and thought, "We could do this here, somebody could do it here."
Right.
I don't know, it's gonna be but starting in this art space and moving out from there, so we're gonna need a little bit of rest, a lot of data, and then start going back out with Alexa's expertise to foundational support grants and that line of donations. They wanna see, like, an impact report and see what you were able to achieve, and then hopefully we can grow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like, really, when we talk about data too, it's really having just like a full understanding of the need and the need that we're
Right.
filling and the benefit, right? And who we're serving, and then growing the number of families that we're able to help. And I think that childcare in all the spaces, so yes to what Jessica says, but yeah, it is really exciting for us to, I think we'll take our learnings from this and then gather our constituents. We have met some extraordinary people just since launching, and I think it's
Yeah.
time for us to bring all those people together and really get a cohesive, like, strong message about the vision to them, and then find those champions, like those people who wanna grow with us, and that's where, like, foundational support and starting that piece for us will, like, really kick in. Up till now, we've really been just looking to not like, our inner circle as supporters,
Right.
and some local businesses. Like, this locality, like, starting local has really been important to us too, like local businesses, local film companies and production companies. That's where we've started these conversations, but we are totally open to who else might hear this or might think, wow, that makes sense. I see that this could grow. Have you thought about this arena? And then talking about how to make that happen. And like with anything, I feel like if you want to figure out how to fund something, talk to an independent filmmaker, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So you think it's really amazing that we're having this conversation here. But to be honest, that's been the biggest challenge for us, which, like, no surprise, the world is just so uncertain right now. And there are so many, like, very pressing needs that are calling for
Right.
people's attention. And at the same time, we have been met with nothing but, oh my gosh, yes, we see this, we support you. How can I help? And I think that we're just really looking for an ambassador, someone who has a bigger reach, who's able to help us get the word out that this exists, that they believe in it. And we're looking again for that kind of support that can grow with us into these next phases, which, you know, everyone says and sees as really possible, and we do too. But we do have to acknowledge that, like, right now it's us. We have a couple other people that have just joined our team, and
Right.
we're moving so fast.
Yeah.
Anybody who sees this that is, "Oh, I wanna volunteer." get in touch. There's opportunity to
Yeah.
volunteer at this pilot program. There's a lot of opportunity for people who, like, would say raise their hand to get behind this, that please reach out to us. And yes, film festivals, we wanna talk to you. I think it's where we wanna scale to next, is, like, the next festival,
Yeah.
longer days, bigger audiences, more people traveling to exhibit, all of that. So, yeah, we love
Mhm.
talking to people, honestly. So reach out.
Yeah,
Love that. So,
agree.
Indie Film
Agree.
Podcast, love supporting other people's projects. You guys have made a career out of helping other people. Even through this, it's just about helping other people get their visions through. Alexa, I'll start with you. Is there a film out there or filmmaker that you wish more people knew about?
I loved this question when you sent them ahead of time. And first of all, thank you for doing that. I want to first say that I think we're living in an era where people are more curious about finding like a deep cut or someone that they hadn't heard about before. And I love that.
Yep.
And the way we can support that is by going to our cinematheques that have unusual and interesting screenings, like Mezzanine, that is the organization, the year round programming they provide is that the show in LA is incredible. LA Film Forum is really important to support. Whammy, Brain Dead Studios, Shadow Kitchen. There's a bunch in LA. Get out to one of those events and go see some stuff. And then I would say, I was thinking about this movie like 2 days ago. Athena Sangari's Harvest is
Ooh,
a film that like just hasn't left me. And if you haven't seen it, watch that and then watch all of her movies. She also happens to be on the board of advisors for Mezzanine.
smart.
That's not why I'm saying it. I'm such a that movie is incredible. So in case people haven't seen Harvest, go find it.
Awesome. And Jessica?
Whew. My picks are not as cool as Alexa's. I'm never gonna be. I honestly, I don't. I think that what sort of keeps me going in this direction is watching young people who are in college, who are coming out of college, who have been out of college for a few years, and they're looking around for their what they want to be when they grow up. I I just keep seeing people who wanna make films and wanna tell stories, and the sort of, I guess, doom and gloom that we face in the with production in LA down and, all these mergers and uncertainty around that isn't really phasing their human drive
Yeah.
to use their voice, collaborate with their friends, use a camera and their bodies and their words to tell stories that matter to them. And I think that's why, just from almost like an economic standpoint, I feel like film festivals are going to keep going. If you think about cave drawings, Aboriginal native cave drawings, like this is storytelling is just baked into like the fabric of what makes us human. And I think that the next big thing to watch, I think, is maybe someone we haven't seen their debut film yet, but it's coming, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be maybe something that I'm not cool enough to get or too old to understand, but that's the point of it, and the people that it's for are gonna get it, and when they have kids, we'll look after them. So I don't know. I think that there's a future still happening in storytelling, and whatever the technology is, if it turns out to be like micro dramas, or we watch them like this on a phone, or we watch them like this together in a cinema, I think that's not over, regardless of who the gatekeepers end up being at the end of the scuffle. Yeah.
I love that answer so much. This has been such a great conversation about such an important need in independent film and film festivals. The company is Cinecamp. Open house April 10th, and then you are also providing care for 4-month-olds to 12 years old at the LA Festival of Movies, April 10th through 12th. Like, just you are doing such great work,
No.
and I'm privileged that you came on and chatted with me about this today. I'll link your socials and the website in the show notes, and I am cheering for your success, and I hope that you're able to go to all the festivals and just be able to provide this important service that allows people, like you said, allows people's voices to be heard in a way that doesn't limit or hold people back. Jessica Kivnik, Alexa Coblentz, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It was really
Thank
great.
you so much. This was really fun. Thank you.